I'll just squint at you guys. It's weird. Anyway, it's All Souls Day, and which means we pray for the souls in purgatory. All Saints Day, that's yesterday, is all these little saints, right? I mean, all the saints, but more importantly, the little ones who don't actually get their own day. In the sense of the people that made it to heaven. Average Joe made it to heaven. People in purgatory, they'll make it to heaven, but that's why today we're praying for them to help them get to heaven. So I've been preaching about purgatory. Yes, the first homily was about there's two distinctions between the temporal and eternal punishment due to sin. And purgatory is where you make up that temporal punishment. You can actually go look on YouTube. They actually have just the homily itself. And so, it's a lot of work, right? Purgatory time, right? Right, you know. The good we do, purgatory time, you're like, and so you get worried. So, God knew this, and God knew that most people would be spending a very long time in purgatory. So, he came up with indulgences, right? What's an indulgence? Curity Ars actually says, because God is merciful and he realized how much purgatory time was required, he gave us indulgences. Now, an indulgence, so as I said in the first homily, the good works you do on earth, prayer and penance, fasting, giving to the poor, right, every time you do that, you get a little credit, which will then kind of balance out your scale for what you owe. Now, the more sins you've done, right, the more you owe, the less good things you do, the less you balance out. But there's a few people, namely the saints, who didn't do very good at all, didn't do very bad, right? They have little sins, but they did a lot of good, so they have excess. Now, holiness grows exponentially, namely, if you double, triple in holiness, the benefit really, so the great saints literally did much, much, much more than they would ever actually take advantage of. So that excess, as it were, in the bank, because the scales are all balanced all together, like the eternal scales, they all balance. So the good people are doing much more than they, and that's given to the church, right? So the church is in charge of that, Holy Father, etc. And an indulgence is when the Holy Father says, okay, if you do these things, then I'll take some of this from the leftover of the saints and give it to you. So we're letting the saints balance their scale. So that's what an indulgence is. Indulgence is when you get off some of your purgatory time, right? You can't just get off. There's no magic, It's not like God's just checking a box, right? Someone's got to pay the price. Well, the saints already paid more than they owed, so that excess, the leftover of the saints, can then be applied to us. But, of course, being the church, right, there's a catch. There's always a catch, right? So the catch is, before we give you this wonderful excess, we want you to do something good yourself, which is good for you, that's why, if you ever done, like certain prayers, right, certain actions, certain prayers have a partial indulgence to them. And if you remember the old days, they used to have days and weeks and years and stuff underneath them before Vatican II. They got rid of all that. Now it's just partial and plenary. Partial indulgence is part of just part. So if you do, I've drawn a mind blank now, but like just make the sign of the cross or something like that. There's a whole list of them. Little prayers, you do all these things, you get a little extra. So in other words, God's saying, if you do this prayer, which is good for you, helps you get holy, then we'll give you a bonus, right? So in other words, we're bribing you to do good things. Now, it is a good thing to give money to the poor, yes? Right? And it's a good thing to give money to the church, yes? And they used to give indulgences for doing that good thing. But whenever money's involved, conflict of interest soon arises. And, every once in a while a bishop would say, yeah, I need a new rectory. And then he'd offer an indulgence for donations, etc. So that's what Martin Luther didn't like, the idea. They were using indulgences to get financial, and whenever money's involved, conflict of interest arises. So the church, after after Martin Luther, they got rid of all the financial things. It is a good thing to give to the poor, but they don't give indulgences for financial things because it led to conflict of interest. But anyway, so the key is you get the benefit. You get benefits in two ways. You got to do something extra good, and then you get less purgatory time using the saints. And then there's a thing called a plenary indulgence. A plenary indulgence is you're going to get rid of all your purgatory time. Oh, by the way, when you do the indulgences, you can either keep it for yourself or give it to somebody in purgatory. So if you're going to do it today, I would give it to someone in purgatory because, that's what today's about. But a plenary indulgence, same thing with a plenary indulgence. You can keep it or you can give it to somebody in purgatory. To get a plenary indulgence is a little more complicated, but that wipes away all purgatory time. So what are the things God would want you to do to be holy? All right. Number one, go to communion, right? You only got to go to communion once a year. So if you receive communion, all right, so which is extra, you don't have to receive communion. That's really good for you, receiving communion. Go to confession, and I think right now it's within 2 weeks. Like if you went a week and a half ago, that counts. So if you went up to 14 days ago, that counts, and then 14 days in advance. So if you go once a month, that'll actually cover it. Confession's good for you, so we're bribing you to go to confession. Prayers for the Pope, right? Pope's got to get his cut, Every transaction, a little bit. Actually, it's not prayers for him, but it's prayers for his intention. So he has a list of intentions that he prays for. The Vatican always got to skim a little bit off the top, right? Just one Hail Mary. So you just got to do like one Hail Mary for him. The normal is one Hail Mary, Our Father, glory be. But even if you just say one glory be. But like I said, it's not really going for the Pope. It's going to the Pope, and then he gets to send it out to his intention. And then and then you have to be detached from all sin, which is really important. Because sometimes when you hold on to sin, it just stops. You can't become holier if you're holding on to a venial sin. Namely, there's a little venial sin I have, and I don't want to let go of it. I want to keep doing it. I don't want to fight it. I just want to. I'm comfortable with it. So, detached from all sins means you're in your mind. You're saying, I want to fight all sin, which is a good thing to do. You got to do that in order to be holy. And then the last thing is you have to do one of several things. Now, it used to be, if you visit for the first week in November, you can visit the cemetery, pray for the dead. That will get you a plenary indulgence. Saying the rosary in church, now they actually expanded it. Because of COVID, you just have to visit a cemetery in your head, mentally. That's what the Pope said. I'm not sure how that plays out, but if you guys can make it here, you probably can make it to this. But if you're stuck at home, you can kind of do it in your head. And then it's for the whole month of November because of the COVID restrictions. But normal ones you can get every single day. Rosary, not by yourself. Rosary in church. Right, you can do that by yourself. Rosary in the family. Right, you can do that at home. Rosary in a religious group, that'd be like Catholic Daughters or whatever, right? So that's for the rosary. So rosary with somebody else, religious group or family or in church. And then Stations of the Cross. But with Stations of the Cross, you have to be moving around. So I don't know if watching me move the thing on the internet counts. Don't know. Just don't know. But you can pray. You can try to get it anyway. And then reading the Bible for 30 minutes, right? Or just praying in church for 30 minutes. But not during Mass. Mass outside of Mass. So those are some of the ways you can get plenary indulgence. Anyway, I should remind me, I'll print up something and give that to you. But since it's All Souls Day, right? And the indulgences that you get for the souls in purgatory are going to be worth more than your own prayers and fasting, probably. Unless you're up there with Mother Teresa. The holier you are, the more it's worth, right? So anyway, it's always a good thing to do that and give that to the souls in purgatory.